What's going on, guys? I can't believe it's already November. So in this video, I want to do a quick November garden tour, harvest a couple things. There's also a couple things I need to take inside because, believe it or not, we already have some lower temperatures here in Houston. I think it's going to get a low of 41 on Tuesday. So some of my plants I need to take inside to protect against those kind of temperatures. So let me show you around my garden and let's garden on. So I harvested one dragon fruit earlier in the year, but it wasn't really pollinated right, so it was really small. So this is really my first dragon fruit I'm ever gonna harvest that's like full size. So there's two fruit on this cactus right now. This one looks about like 95% ripe, and this one up here is probably like maybe 50% to maybe 70%. It's starting to turn red for the second one, but I'm gonna go ahead and harvest both of these today since dragon fruit doesn't like, lower temperatures like that. And the plants are gonna get stressed out with those lower temperatures. So that's why it's really important that I harvest these two fruit today. And then once temperatures get down to like 32, that's when I'll take this inside and put it into the spare room for the rest of the fall and winter. But I don't think I have to do that probably until like December. So I have a couple more weeks, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest these two dragon fruit. Also, I want to mention too, if you think you don't like dragon fruit, it's probably because you've never had a homegrown dragon fruit. Pretty much the same with like tomatoes, because they harvest these dragon fruits before they're even ripe. So just having a dragon fruit like this that is allowed to ripe mostly on the vine, it's going to taste so much sweeter than any other dragon fruit. And if I had a little more time before this first, it's not really a frost coming, but it's going to be relatively low temperatures of 41. That's why I'm harvesting this other dragon fruit that's not really ripe, and it'll continue to ripe. It just won't taste as sweet as this first one I'm harvesting. But yeah, so if I had a little more time, I would definitely leave this dragon fruit on the plant a little longer. But since it's going to be relatively low temperatures right around the corner in like 2 days, I'm just going to go ahead and pick this today. But check these two dragon fruit out that I just harvested. This one's going to taste really good. So this next harvest in this November garden tour is pretty exciting. So these are Dancy tangerines. And the reason why I'm so excited to harvest these Dancy tangerines is because I only just bought this tree earlier this year. So I bought this tree and a few others from Costco for a really good deal. If you want to check out that video, I'll have a link in the description. But this tree was a really good deal because it was like $30 or $40 for each tree. And typically at my local nursery, they'll be like around $60 for a tree half the size. So let's go ahead and harvest these Dancy tangerines. So they're pretty much ripe. They're maybe about 90% ripe, but since we're getting those lower temperatures, just like with the dragon fruit, I'm gonna go ahead and harvest these today since they're pretty much ripe. Here's that first one. So there's like 5 on here. Pretty cool to have 5 fruit within the first year of growing it. Look, this one's split, this 5th one. So I'm not sure why that happened. Let me know in the comments if you know why this tangerine right here is split like this. But at least I got 4. That's pretty good results within the first year, is to have 4 fruit on such a young tree. So one of the most common questions I get from people who first find out that I have a garden is, what do you like to grow? So one of my favorite things to grow in my garden are fruit trees. To be more specific, citrus. So I have over a dozen citrus trees growing in my garden. Most of them are in containers. So this next citrus, this is a kumquat. So there's 2 kinds of kumquats. So you have a sweet, which is what this is, and then you have a tart kumquat, which is obviously going to be more tart. But one of the reasons why I love growing kumquats is because they grow very well in containers. So it makes growing a kumquat in a climate like mine very easy, so I can easily take it inside during freezing weather. But another reason why I love kumquats is because they produce a lot of fruit. So in February it has some fruit and I harvested, and then now in fall it has more fruit. So it produces fruit around twice a year. But look at all these little fruits. So these are really cool. You can eat these fruits whole, skin, seeds, and all, and they taste really good. I would eat some right off the tree right now. But I'm actually fasting. I do a 1 meal a day fast. So I only eat 1 meal, no snacks. I might cheat a little bit, have a little cream in my coffee, but that's about it. But still, I stick to 1 meal. And I've been doing this for like 3 weeks now. I've already lost around 12 pounds. So yeah, that's one of my goals. I've starting eating healthy all year pretty much. I've eaten no seed oils. I watch what I eat. I don't eat any processed food either, pretty much. Very little, very minimum processed, like pretty much like the most processed I'll eat is like a yogurt. Other than that, you know, I stick to like whole foods. So I was doing grass fed, but grass fed just got too expensive with grass fed beef. So I stick to beef, like maybe like a potato and some kind of fruit and some vegetables. But yeah, look at all these fruit on here. I'd rather have fruit than vegetables. Definitely than, you know, dropping some. But yeah, so my goal by this time next year is to lose over 100 pounds. And I have a plan, so follow along to see me lose weight. But if you go ahead and look at some of my earlier videos, like from 5 years ago, when I first started making gardening videos, you'll see I probably already lost like 100 pounds since then. So I know I can lose 100 more pounds and be at a healthy weight. But yeah, look at all these little fruits I'm picking off of this tree. That's pretty incredible. And just like with the Dancy Tangerine, they're not 100% ripe, but they're pretty close to being ripe. And just with that weather right around the corner, I don't want to leave these on the tree and stress the tree out. So it's better to harvest these now than to let the tree get stressed out trying to keep these fruit on with that 41-degree weather. I also have a Eureka Pink Lemonade lemon tree. So the leaves are variegated, and then there's one little lemon on here. So the cool thing about this lemon is that the lemon too is also variegated, but the flesh is pink. This tree might look a little sad, so hopefully it bounces back in the spring. But it's another tree I have in a container. Maybe in the spring I might bump it up to one of those 25-gallon containers, just like what that Dancy Tangerine is in. But I harvested one of these lemons earlier this year, but I'm just gonna go ahead and pick this one little tiny lemon now too in this garden tour. But yeah, this tree definitely needs some work. I think there's some leaf miners on this tree too, so I'm gonna have to treat it, which I try to avoid treating stuff because I like to go like 100% organic and just grow naturally, but this tree definitely needs some help. So I also have this coffee tree growing right here. So most of the year I have it growing outside. It's growing in a container, but for the cooler parts of the year, I actually take it inside and grow it as a house plant. It's a little heavy, but I think it'll be okay. Look at that. Yes, the roots. I have to clean this off first. Definitely some weeds on here I need to pull off first. So I am going to spray this tree with some neem oil just in case if there's any pests on this tree, because I don't want to infect my other trees and houseplants I have inside already. All right, guys, so check this out. So this is my fern. So I've actually had this for 2 years. So most people grow ferns as an annual, but I've been able to keep this alive by taking it inside every winter. But look at it, it's just like outgrowing this nursery pot. So I definitely need a new pot. But as you can see, it's busting through this nursery pot, like right here, over in the bottom. So I definitely want to keep this plant alive. I'm going to go ahead and go to Lowe's or Home Depot later today and buy one of those watering trays that catches the excess water. So I'll hold off on watering this right now so I don't damage the floors. But I definitely want to take this inside before Tuesday, before those 40-degree weather, come, because this fern is definitely going to be stressed out by those kind of temperatures. And then in the spring, I'll take it back outside. But just like with the coffee tree, I'm going to spray this with some neem oil too, just in case if there's any kind of pests like aphids or anything like that on here. But I don't think there is. But yeah, this fern right here needs the protection. So the next plant I want to show you in this November garden tour is my mango tree. So the cool thing about this tree is that I started growing it from seed last year. So if you want to grow a mango tree from seed, this is the kind of growth you can expect in 1 year. So, I know, growing a fruit tree from seed, you're probably not going to get the exact same kind of fruit, but I'm growing this from seed for fun, to see what happens, because part of gardening is to, have fun with it and experiment, see what works and see what doesn't. So I had a elephant mango. I was like, I'm going to try to grow this from seed and see what kind of fruit it produces. So the reason why a lot of fruit, they don't come out like the parents when you grow them from seed is because they're polyembiotic. So that means there's multiple embryos in the seed. So that's why you might not get the same characteristics as the parent plant. But, I'm cool with that. I'm okay with seeing what kind of fruit this tree might produce. It might produce something similar, it might not. But, the only way we can figure that out if we try to grow it. And like I said, it's for fun. So, but I always recommend, if you want to know what kind of fruit you're going to get, go ahead and buy a tree from the nursery. But if you're okay with taking the extra time and seeing what happens, go ahead, grow from seed. But just know that you're probably not going to get the same kind of fruit as the parent plant. This definitely needs to be protected during winter since it's a tropical plant. And this pot that this mango tree is in is kind of falling apart. So I'm just going to go ahead and repot it into this other pot. So I save these nursery pots just in case if I need them for like situations like this. I don't want to disturb the roots. That's why I'm cutting this pot open, because it seemed like it was kind of stuck in here. So this soil is from a local company called Heirloom Soils here in Houston. They have leaf mold compost. They use cocoa coir instead of peat moss. They have some granulated sand in here. It's really good for fruit trees. There's mycorrhiza, so you have that symbiotic relationship with like the bacteria and the roots and all the microscopic life in the soil. There's, I think, aged pine bark. A lot of good ingredients in this soil I use for a lot of my fruit trees, including like my citrus and some other potted trees I have. Putting some soil at the bottom right here of the pot. It's falling apart. That's why I was trying to be careful repotting this. Hopefully I didn't kill the tree by doing that, but I think it should bounce back. Enough of the roots were intact. It's just, that's why I cut the pot open, because it seemed like the roots were just not sticking together very well, because the soil was just not very good that I had it in. Yeah, so hopefully this tree bounces back in the spring, but I think it will be okay. I'm just gonna go take it inside and put it under a grow light. So this tower right here is called a Greenstalk vertical garden tower. So I had sowed some beet seeds in each of these pockets. There's some beets popping up, but the question is, are we going to get an early frost? Because these are cool season vegetables and not cold season. So here in Houston, we have a very short window for cool season. So it's really hard and difficult to grow things like beets because we don't have a lot of those cool days before we get, a lot of those colder days. So we'll see if they grow. But another thing I really want to show you guys in this tower, earlier this year, like I think around February, I had put some spider lily bulbs in this row right over here. So spider lilies, they're really popular in Japanese culture. Like you'll see them in poetry, especially anime like Demon Slayer. But they basically represent death, and they're in cemeteries a lot in Japan. But right now, the foliage, so the green parts, are popping up. So they're going to gather energy, probably die back down by the end of winter, early spring. And then in fall, they'll come back up and they'll probably flower next fall. So I'm pretty excited to see those. So the reason why I wanted to grow spider lilies is because, you know, they look incredible. I'm a big fan of anime, and I've also been learning Japanese for the last couple of years. I will admit I've kind of slowed down in the last year, but hopefully in the new year I get some new motivation to start really cracking down on those books. But, you know, I will admit that really all I do right now is one session of Duolingo every single day, but it's been 800 days straight. But, you know, Choto Nihongo Hanasemasu. So I can speak very little Japanese, but I try. And hopefully in the new year, I get a new wave of motivation to crack in some of those textbooks I have and really cracking down on grammar and new vocabulary. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any tips about learning Japanese. And you know what? Speaking of Japanese culture, another plant that I'm going to have to protect during winter is this ficus tree. So ficus, they're a really popular tree to grow as a bonsai because they're basically beginner friendly. So I have to take this inside too, but I have another bonsai tree that's a little bigger than this. That's a ficus too. I already have that one inside, but yeah, this is a nice looking tree. It has a little damage right here, so we're taking it inside to protect it during those colder days that are right around the corner. Since those colder temperatures are right around the corner, I really have to protect this monkey tail. So this is one of my favorite cactuses I have in my collection. They're really not cold tolerant at all. So once temperatures drop below 50 degrees, we really have to take this inside and protect it. Otherwise, it's really going to struggle and it might end up dying. So I got this last year and I was at the nursery and I saw another one and I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. And I ended up leaving it, and then I went back and it was gone, and I regretted it. And then the next week I went back again and they had another one. So that time I ended up getting it. But since last year, these have gone up in price. So I think I paid like $50 for this. And this year they had smaller ones for that same price. So, you know, shrinkflation is real, and it's not just happening in the grocery store, it's happening everywhere, you know, even plants. So for the same price this year, you get one like half the size of this. So definitely want to protect this cactus, and hopefully in the spring, I see some nice flowers from it. All right, guys, so I think I pretty much covered everything I want to show you in this November garden tour. You know, I didn't have time to show you everything, but I showed you all the highlights and the most interesting things growing on in my garden. So like I said, we have those colder temperatures right around the corner, around 41, and that's kind of unusual this early. You know, it's kind of an outlier, so hopefully things warm up and, you know, we have more cooler temperatures and not cold, because, you know, we get cold temperatures here in Houston, but typically our coldest time of the year is like January and February, and we don't really have those kind of temperatures in November and December, even though they could happen. So hopefully we have more of a mild winter, and those kind of temperatures are just like an outlier. And if we have a mild winter, you know, that's going to save me a lot of time and energy, because if we have anything really below freezing, like say below 30, I might have to move some of these citrus, and I'm going to have to get a dolly to move a lot of them, make some room in the garage. So if they stay like in the high 20s, early 30s, maybe I can just get a frost blanket and protect these. But if they go anything lower than, I say, the mid 20s and lower, I'm definitely going to have to take a lot of these inside into the garage, and that's just going to be a lot of energy and time. So hopefully we have a mild winter. You know, we don't, like, we get like snow or ice like maybe every like 4 years or so, but like we do get snow sometimes. So if we have anything like really icy conditions, I'm going to have to take a lot of these plants into the garage. but we'll see what happens. But if you found any information in this video helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more gardening videos. And let me know in the comments what you're growing, what you harvested recently. If you're struggling with anything and you have any questions, drop those questions in the comments. But you know what? Until the next time, I'll catch you on the flip side of the garden. Thanks for watching.